Welcome to A Tale of Two Scribes. I'm your host, Eric P. Bishop. This is a podcast where interesting people come and tell about the stories they've crafted. As for myself, I'm an author. I've created novels, short stories, novellas, and even poetry. If you'd like to find out more about what I've done, please go to my website, ericpbishop.com. Thanks, and enjoy the journey. Welcome to another episode of A Tale of Two Scribes. And tonight, I'm excited to bring on my friend, David Darling. How are you, David?
Hi, Eric. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Very good. It's not like we didn't talk right before this started, so but
True
we
enough.
can
True enough.
we can act like we didn't.
Oh my gosh, what a surprise. How did you get on my computer?
David, you're looking great. You've lost weight. You're looking buff. What's going on, buddy?
I showered. It was really exciting. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
encourage you to do that. Now, as a writer, you can sit in your cabin in Montana and make your manifesto and not shower, and it can be acceptable. But in our modern age of writing, you have to go out there and promote the crap out of your stuff, David. So you need to shower.
Yes. And I do. So yes.
Well, thanks for coming on. I appreciate you joining me, and I think the audience can really learn some stuff from your experience. Um,
Great.
we have kind of a similar story in this in the you're much further ahead than me, and you've been very kind in even teaching me how you've navigated this insane business. But like me, have tried to get an agent, tried to go the traditional route, and um,
Yep.
like most people, had a lot of doors closed in your face and a lot of basically emails ignored and stuff. And you finally said, screw it. I've got some really good books out here, and other people agreed with you. And you said, let's publish these things.
That's correct.
So, I want to start off though, go a little further back.
Oh,
What
okay.
made you, and I think I know the story behind it, but I think it's a good story because I believe it involved you of reading a lot of stuff, and you said something. But what made you want to write your own novel?
Well, as you can clearly see behind me, I do like to read. I've been reading since I was 14, and I really haven't gotten rid of many books since. Um, and so I've always been a prolific reader,
Yeah.
mostly science fiction, fantasy. In the last 15, 20 years, I've been shifting into genres, thrillers. Tom Clancy got me straight into it. That's
Hmm.
The Hunt for Red October, all the way through Without Remorse, one of my favorite Clancy books. Anyway,
Yeah.
um, with that, I just been absorbing all these different genres and thoroughly enjoying them. So about 5, 6 years ago, I'm starting to lose track already. I was reading a book as I was recovering from shoulder surgery,
Hmm.
and I just couldn't get into it. It was horrible, like really horrible. And so I turned around and said, "Well, I could write a better book than that. My God." And my wife said,
Absolutely.
"Well, you're home for months doing nothing else anyway while you're recovering from surgery. Go for it." So
Hmm.
I did. So that was my first novel, uh, Serve in the Shadows Recruitment.
Yep.
And uh, so I kept going. The day that was finished, the very next day, I started The Tipping Point, book one in the Noah Hunter series, and I haven't stopped since.
Hmm.
I've been writing two, sometimes three books a year, and just enjoying the process. I
Yeah.
really have.
Well, other thing that we've talked about this offline. I have a lot of respect for you, and one of them is not only the fact that you've been prolifically writing while also having a career, having a daughter, having a family. Um, you've also had to dive into, okay, since big publishers or big agents aren't returning my calls, I'm going to put these out, and the
Correct.
I can respect the fact because I've now learned from you, and I've gone through the process in 2023 of the amount of effort it takes to learn the business side of it is really more than writing in a way.
For sure. For myself, it was trial by fire.
Mm.
I jumped in, self-published my first book, and I was all excited. And then I got a copy, and it didn't have page numbers, and I'm like, "Oh my God, really?" So yeah, I didn't have page numbers, and then the formatting was wrong. The editorial notes, the comments that for
Mhm.
track rating were still there on my first copy, and I was like, okay, so uh, I didn't have somebody over my shoulder telling me. I
Right.
basically learned through YouTube, and because of the gaps in knowledge from learning like that,
Mhm.
there was a lot of errors and a lot of problems.
Yeah.
So it took me quite a while to um, get get things going. Is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So I ended up being my own marketing manager. I
Mhm.
am figuring out advertising,
Right.
um, graphics design. You got to put up posters. You got to do social media now. You got to be active.
Mhm.
After 5 days of not posting anything, people will forget about you online.
Right.
And so that's where I'm at. And all of that is a part-time job
Yeah.
in of itself.
In
Not
of itself,
has
right.
nothing to do with writing. And if I could, my ideal dream is I write and then I give it to somebody else. They do everything else. I think that'd be the dream, right?
Mhm.
But here's your edited manuscript back, Mr. Darling. Okay, then you spend a few days, you make the corrections, you move a
Right.
chapter, yeah, you add, delete characters, whatever. Then you hand it back to them a week later, and you're done, right? Okay, let's.
Corrections, it would have like smiley faces that says, "Damn it,
Ah,
David, you did it again. There's no errors once more." I mean,
I'd
how are
love a
you
gold
doing it?
star. Yeah, that'd be fantastic. So
But
there's all these. It's the hidden world behind writing,
yeah,
especially for self-published or indie authors, and
100%.
it is what it is.
Well, it is
But
what it is, and the
benefit from it.
market's changed so much that the world that you're talking about, I'm sure it exists for a few people out there, but literally you probably could take one hand and count how many people have that life now. Because for the most part, that ended really with the advent of these crazy little devices here and the internet age and Kindle and all that
Yep.
stuff. Because, now, even if you get a great deal, even if you get a really a seven-figure advance, you're the top 1% of the 1%. That's really the exception of the rule. They're not going to say to you, David, go back to your Bora Bora Island there and just write the next book. They're going to say, hey, David, A Tale of Two Scribes needs you to come on because they need their audience to be boosted up. They want you to promote.
Yeah,
So your job now that again that might get minimalized if you're making them so much money that they don't need you that much. But
for
typically,
sure.
if you're making them that much money, then there's normally going to be more of a draw for media for you because you're the big dog.
Well, what people aren't understanding is even traditionally published authors with the big guys, only a handful of people out of all that get the marketing resources. So you have a guy, despite having a publishing contract, he is also still doing his own book signings. He's still doing his own advertising,
Yep.
getting the name out there, getting the book out there. He's hustling, and
Yeah.
that's it's not changing as much because I'm an indie author. I'm still doing all that plus
Mhm.
some more,
Yeah.
and
But the advantage
I'm
to
still
that
enjoying it. Well,
what's
there
that?
are advantages, yes.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say the advantage of that is, yes, you're doing more than that and having to do the similar thing, but then you're not having to give away a significantly large percentage of the royalties.
Correct.
So, and that becomes, and again, I've talked with other people about it. It's if you don't have the resources to hire an editor, hire a book cover, which we've had those conversations offline, we use the same
Right.
editor. If you don't have that ability to do that, then you can be stuck really easily in this. If you want to self-publish, you can get
Right.
stuck really fast. You either put out something that's not great quality because you didn't get the professional editor, or you created
Correct.
your own cover in Canva. And some people can do it, but not very many. Not very many can do it and make it
Right.
not look like a self-published book.
I've
That's
I I went to college. I took a graphics design course. I consider myself fairly artsy.
mhm,
However, I would not attempt even with all the appropriate software, I would not attempt to make my own covers. I make a little sketch, and I do a couple back and forth with my designer, and that's it. And he
Yeah.
turns all these little crayon drawings into my vision and his vision, and
Hmm.
sometimes we meet in the middle, and sometimes he's a little off to the side, but we always come to our agreement. So, and
Hmm.
that's uh, contrary to everything else. You can judge a book by its cover. So please, anybody, just
Yeah.
you got to hire out unless you're good, and if you have the skills and the programs and all the images and everything, go for it.
Hmm. Well, and that's where it gets tricky because what I do, my thought process and what I've done for 3 book covers now, and I'll have to do it this summer for the Omega Group when it comes out at the end of the year, hopefully, is I'll go into Canva and I'll just kind of take an idea of my vision and put it in there. Grab some random images. Some of them are, and
Right.
I'm not trying to get it copyrighted or any of that kind of stuff. It's just for me to understand of what I would even like. And then I will send that to my design guy and say, this is what I'm thinking. And, you probably think
Perfect.
I'm an idiot, and I am, but make it look much better than this. But this is my vision idea. And so far, he's
Yep.
taken that. And a lot of times, what he's done, even with like the Body Man, the new cover for the Body Man, when I reissued that, is he gave me like 5 options. And some of
Oh,
them were
nice.
vastly different from what I asked for. But what I ended up doing, which was ironic, is I took like 3 of the images or 3 of the covers he gave me, and I said, I like this part. I like the Oval Office in here. I like the guy in this one. I like the font in that one. I said, merge these together and give it a
Perfect.
little red, white, and blue gradient shade so that we feel
Yep.
patriotic.
Nice.
Yeah.
And
But
that's the
again,
hands-on approach that we as independent authors can have. Whereas a traditionally published author, this is your cover, and there's you don't really have much of a say in it at all.
yeah, they might let you say, man, that's really not what I was hoping, and maybe they'll listen. But for the
Yep.
vast majority of people there, they're gonna literally what you just said. This is your cover, and you say, thank you, sir. May I have another? You just go with it because
True.
they signed your contract. They gave you an advance. They did whatever it was, and it probably wasn't anything. You weren't going out and buying your Lambo, with that first advance. So
True.
it's interesting, and you've gotten to experience it. I've got to experience it, but the business side is something that, at least speaking for me, I didn't know when I got into this in 2014. Um, Maybe it's good I didn't know because maybe it might have hindered me from writing that first book if I saw how hard of a business it can be. But at the same time, I'm grateful I did, of course. And then I had to learn it on the back end. And learning on the back end is once you know that,
Yeah.
that helps you so much going forward. What to do, who to talk to. If you go through the experience with a small publisher, um, positive or negative, you're going to learn a lot. So that when you go to a bigger publisher or you go to a different small publisher, you can learn a lot of lessons. And that's
Perfect.
preaching to the choir on this one with that one, so for sure.
True.
Um, so you dove in, decided to self-publish.
Correct.
What, besides the formatting, what were some of those things you learned early on that have really helped you as you've got how many books are actually out? 6 or 7?
I have 6 out now,
6 out.
and
Okay.
in on April 30th this month, 2024, I have book 7 coming up.
Okay. So this might air right after that or right around, this might be right around that. So,
All
okay.
right. So good. Yeah. So I'll have 7 books out. I already have the one out for November. It's already edited, done, tucked away. I'm back to working on my police thriller series, the Noah
Hmm.
Hunter series,
Hmm.
and
So that's
I'm
going to be book 4
that's
in
book
the
4
next. Yeah.
called Hunter's Gambit, and if all goes well, I'm going to see if I could squeak that out at the end of the summer. So but this is for me. That's an ambitious goal. Having 3 books come out in a year, it's an awful
100%.
lot of work.
Yeah.
But like we said before, I'm reaping the rewards, and
Hmm.
when you're doing something you enjoy, um, I don't find it work as much.
Yeah. Yeah, especially the creative side, to me at least, the creative part, even now I used to really dread the editing side of it. I loved writing, but when I had to go and start tearing it up or start changing it or even trying to fix it, to me for the first couple years was kind of torture. And I've learned to embrace it. I'm actually, we talked offline. We have the same person doing edits. So your book is with the editor now. My book is going to the editor in like the next 10 days. So
Yeah.
he's swapping from your insanity to my insanity is what he's going to do here pretty soon. Totally different
Perfect.
genres though. So
Yes. We should be good. Yes.
yeah, but well, Jonas, hopefully that will be a cleanse of a palate of okay, I'm not getting Eric's version of the sci-fi because he'd be like, oh my goodness, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
That-
So,
That's funny. Yeah.
but
So
go ahead. Sorry.
no. And that's one of the things I really enjoyed about it. Even the pressure of having three books, even if it's just two coming out, and maybe I'll do another one
Mm,
early next spring, like in February or March.
yeah.
Uh, I'm, I reap the rewards directly, so
Right.
and I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Well, you're putting in more effort than a traditional author is in the sense of yes, you'd have to do the writing. Yes, you'd have to do edits that they're going to kick back at you, and then you're going to have to do promotion. But you don't have to deal with the sending it to the editor, paying for your cover, and just all then the formatting, all the formatting that comes with it, which you alluded to before, and you and I had talked to
Yeah,
last year, and you had been telling me about the struggles you were having with the editing, and I'm just like, I'm buying software. I am not going down this path because I don't want to see what I'll spit out. It's
I I did buy the software yesterday.
okay. What did you get?
I Atticus,
There you go.
and I went through it several times. I've watched every tutorial on how to use Atticus, and basically, by the time my Word document, because I use Microsoft Word, by the
Right.
time I shift it over to Atticus, import it properly, I'm doing everything right,
Hmm.
and everything shifts, line spacing's off, my indentation's off. Um, because I have it set up in Word ready for print. I'm 99% there.
Gotcha.
But when I put it over to Atticus, so many things shifted. And then there was nothing for me to really use Atticus for except the chapter themes and
Interesting.
scene breaks. So I wrote Atticus a letter this morning and I asked for a refund.
Okay. See, I had the opposite
So
experience. So,
okay.
because I was the one who told you
Well,
to
I
use
can.
Atticus, I'm sure.
Oh, you
So,
did. Yeah, yeah. We had that whole conversation. For some, I think it. Well, obviously, it's. I think hands down going to be a game changer for so many people, yourself included.
yeah.
Um, but for me, who I've been using Microsoft Word for
Right.
half my life, I guess now.
Hmm.
Um, and now I know, I know how to set up my pages. I know how to set up my margins, the gutter,
Hmm.
the the indentation, proper chapter headings. How do you do your headings, stuff like that? And if I sorry, yeah, no, I know how to do all that because I
Hmm.
banged my head against the wall for so long. And I screwed up so many times. Um, there wasn't a benefit for me for Atticus. The themes were really kind of cool, but then I found out even this afternoon I can make my own themes in Word. It takes a little bit
Takes
longer.
some,
You just
right.
have to import a picture, chapter headings, make the nice little frills around chapter one, and maybe an image above it, stuff like that. So
Hmm.
there's ways to do it all in Word, but it's not intuitive like it is with Atticus.
Yeah. And I think that's why with what you had taught me last year, because my word is very basic. It has a
Right.
format. I mean, it has a it's formatted, I guess, but I just, I do page breaks at the chapters, but that's about it. I
Okay.
do indent in stuff, but when I dump it into an Atticus, all that's cleaned up for me at
Yeah.
least. There's a few things. What I end up finding is sometimes it'll group a couple chapters together because I didn't do a hard page break.
Correct.
So with even just going back through Breach of Trust again, I'm literally taking the new chapter and I'm deleting it back almost into the previous one and then just doing a hard page break to get it back down to its own page so that when I import it, and like when I did Bodyman, when I think I pulled that file into Atticus, it was one evening I spent to get everything right, but to even to do the legal stuff, do everything, I think maybe I spent 3 hours and I was done, and that was it. So I had everything,
Good.
done for that for me for one evening instead of working on it for a weekend or days on end. So
I'm at the point right now that I do all my editing ready for print as I'm writing the story.
okay,
I get to the end of a chapter, control enter, new page, backspace one to get that hard carriage return at the end of the sentence,
hmm,
new chapter. I can do my heading, the 24 point, get it. I can just automatically do all that stuff
you
now
got it, yeah,
as I'm writing, and it doesn't slow me down now.
gotcha,
Um, so, or else I would just write like a banshee, not worry about anything. Then I would find a use for Atticus. Yeah,
yeah,
sure, I'd dump it all in there instead of spending 2 days going back through my manuscript line by line.
yeah, 100%. Um, let's talk about marketing because you've
Let's do it.
been. Yeah, well, and you're really good at it, and it's something that again, anyone getting into this, um, it's good to learn as much as you can because again, you say, I'm going to get an agent, I'm going to get Simon and Schuster, they're going to pull the dump truck up and dump some money in my driveway, and I'm not going to have to market. Yeah, that's BS. You're going to have to do marketing. You might
Yeah.
not have to spend a lot of money, but I mean, I know very successful authors that run their own Facebook ads and do their own. Some of them have to hire their own publicist or find someone else besides the publicist that's also doing other stuff for them because
Yep.
what they're getting from the publishers just is not up to par or not what they want.
Hmm.
So talk about your
Um,
marketing. Do you
okay.
have a marketing plan for each book, and if so, how does that come alive for you?
What I was doing with the police thriller series, the Noah Hunter series, book one, The Tipping Point, I was target demographics for certain people
Hmm.
are critical because they're not the same demographic that I'm targeting while I'm advertising for my science fiction time travel novel.
Right.
Uh, I'm sure there's a small overlap because of I know that name, the name recognition. I'll give it a shot. He's
Yeah.
got an FBI agent in it, but there's time travel. Whatever. So anyway, as an overview, what I do is for the main part, Facebook ads. I'm getting into Amazon ads more,
Hmm.
but I haven't seen a return on them yet.
Yeah.
Twitter ads, zero return rate. I've never seen anything.
Hmm.
Um, there was somewhere else I did a Google advertisement for a while as well for the
Okay.
paid advertisement, and that was years ago. I never saw any return out of that either
Hmm.
because you can download after your program runs, say with Amazon, they can give you the analytics. Over 4 days you had so and so click rates on the ad, and
Right.
I can go back to my own sales and I can go, did my sales go up? Did my sales go down? Did they stay the same?
Hmm.
I didn't get any more sales, so I'm not doing that again. It was
Yeah.
a money drop for me. So,
Hmm.
but for Facebook ads, I'm doing mainly Canada, United States. Although I've been having a moderate success for sales for Australia, Great Britain, Ireland, and
Hmm.
now Germany. I don't know.
I've I've had the same thing. When I first got some Australia sales, I was kind of like, okay, how is this happening? And then
Yeah,
England's been pretty steady. I haven't looked recently on the list of countries. I think for the Body Man last time I had looked was well over a dozen, and some of that was looking at the Amazon sales information because
right.
you're getting your royalty payments every month sent to you based on the different Amazon servers
Right.
that are used. But then also just for some of the early version of the Body Man or the first version, from people reaching out to me and saying, "Hey, I live in Italy, and here's a picture of your book."
Awesome.
So stuff like that. So, and I had a list at one point, and I don't even remember, 14, 15 maybe is what it was up to. I hadn't really kept up with it, but even that, you're like, okay, I never really clicked on realizing, man, this might go international. Especially for me in the United States, I think, okay, English speaking, people are going to read it here. It's about the White House. Do people in
Yeah.
Sydney really care about the White House? Apparently they do, which is cool. Who
Cool.
knew?
Well, one of the tips and tricks for, let's just stick with an Amazon ad. I'll run the Amazon ad for United States.
Hmm.
I'll run a second Amazon ad for Canada, and I'll run a third Amazon ad for Australia, and so on.
Yes.
For each ad, and I'm only talking like $5 a day. For each ad, you put the shop now in the link for Amazon Australia or
Yes.
Amazon Canada, and the third one, Amazon United States. You make it specific for that ad for that country,
Hmm.
because nobody in Australia is going to click on an ad that advertises the book for Amazon.com.
Right.
There and
100%.
then they
Yeah.
have to be redirected to their Amazon. Do you want to buy it in the States and have it shipped to you?
Yeah.
It doesn't work. So with that, I like my advertising budget is between $15 to $25 a day,
Hmm.
and that's how I do it. I target those specific places with their own ad, and that's how I've been doing this, as well as social media. I count on. Uh, I'm I'm actually selling books through TikTok now. I don't have my own TikTok shop.
Hmm.
Canadians are not allowed to run one, but if
We
it
don't let
gets
those Canadians
yeah, if it
get on
gets
this.
shut down in the States, they're going to be begging us. So I'm ready to go. And
Well,
uh,
once it's banned here, you guys can have it there, and you can start having all the
yeah,
crazy
we'll see how
videos.
that goes. You know Jason Pinter?
Yes, I know who he is. Yes.
Yes, yeah, I've been talking to him quite a bit as well. And he's been helping me and uh, answering some questions about TikTok and selling books and
Hmm.
all this fun stuff. So I'm ready to go. But now I'm getting word of mouth. Now I'm getting readers, book reviewers.
Yeah.
Everybody's getting people posting my book and showing the synopsis of it and reading it out. And
Hmm.
hey, and then other people are commenting. This sounds great. And the next thing I know, my orders went up.
Yeah.
And because of that, I can't remember when, but 3 weeks ago, my book went to number one. So I got the official with Edge of Time. I got the official number one Amazon bestseller. So for
There
time
you go.
travel, so that was pretty cool. So the advertisement side can't be overlooked. You have to do it. And if advertisement's not for you or being social and putting yourself out, uh, I don't. You just can't put. You can't write a book, get it edited, proper cover, put it up, and hope somebody stumbles across it. You have to go out and aggressively sometimes.
Yeah. There's
You
too
have
many books out there now. And unfortunately, on top of that, is so many people are marketing that, yeah, you're completely right. If you put a book out there and just say, I'm going to put it on Amazon, you get family and friends that will buy it, sure, and maybe
yeah,
not as many as you think. But besides that, you're gonna go. No, the stats are something, and they probably have changed, but they weren't old stats, and I've mentioned them before. It's something like a self-published book sells on average 50 copies.
correct.
And I believe a traditionally published book, it's only 500.
2 to 500.
Two
Yeah,
to five. Yeah,
that's
it's not insane numbers.
no.
Um, and we've talked numbers offline. We're both doing much better than the numbers out there. Well, part of that, besides writing kick-ass books, is the fact that we both know, okay, we can't just expect people to find our books. We have to do the marketing.
Right.
Ours, we talked about it, but my Facebook ads and what I've been doing for the past month is I'm letting Facebook AI more decide who to show the ad to.
Hmm.
And I think it increased my sales by 3 or 4 fold. So I mean, it was like dramatically different from what I
Perfect.
was doing in February.
Nice.
So just like, okay, April, I'm not gonna I won't rock the boat till, till I have to. You just let it.
If it's not broken, you don't fix it.
No, no. And for me, I'm hoping too, with having breach of trust out in June, is people that find the book will then know that it's a series and there's multiple books, and that obviously, that's those. For people that are listening and think, I just want to write one book. If you want to make money on it, you might want to think about writing 6 books. you know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I do get um because I can monitor my own sales.
Hmm.
I see binge readers. They'll buy the first, second, and third book almost one right after another every couple days.
Right.
Ebooks for sure. Or I'll turn around and I can see it through the Kindle Red pages. They're just devouring this book, and then this book, the numbers go up for this book and this book. So
Yeah. Let's talk about that for people, because I don't know. I think
sure.
a lot of people know about it, but you were really one of the ones that had talked to me about it, was Kindle Unlimited.
Yes.
Um,
So
Tell everybody
Kindle
about that
Unlimited,
program.
yeah, Kindle Unlimited is where you take your ebook only and you make it exclusive to Amazon.
Hmm.
You can still have your hardcover, your paperback available elsewhere, up and down the coast, wherever you want. But the ebook is exclusive to Amazon now, and you can enroll in the Amazon uh, Kindle Unlimited program. So
Hmm.
people pay their monthly subscription, and you basically could read any book that's enrolled in the program for free per month.
Right.
Authors still get paid, and the pay fluctuates, but instead of selling a book for $8.99 and getting most 70% of that money, I will get I'm trying to remember what it is now, $2 or $3 for that book having been read through
Right.
Kindle Unlimited.
Yeah.
And
Un-
that's about it. But the Kindle Unlimited also affects your standing in the charts. If people
Yeah.
are just devouring your book, your ratings are going to go up. You can stay within the top 100 of your genre or subcategory, or
Hmm.
you can. They can also. This part I really enjoy. If they've Kindle Unlimited readers read your book, they can also post a review on it, and it's a verified purchase.
Absolutely.
Yes. So if anybody has an ebook out there and you're enrolled in Kindle Unlimited, the last line of your author's notes in the book is please leave a review where purchased. It works.
Hmm.
And so it's shooting on up. So and that's it is what it is. Without the reviews, the algorithms don't notice you as much. So
Yeah, I had gotten to the spot where end of last year, when it was with the old publisher, I was getting ratings and reviews, but they were not daily or anything like that. I pretty much am getting like one a day now and I attribute a lot of that to Kindle Unlimited, actually, because it has been getting quite a lot of reads every day. And so yeah, and you're right though, and that puts you. I think when I looked last week in the political thriller ebooks for Amazon, the Body Man hit the lowest it might have hit was number 54. Um,
right. Yep.
and for me, I was super excited about that. It's like, man, this book's been out and it sold really well, 2 years ago. So it's a book that's been out for a couple years, and to now get, in the top 50 or around the top 50 or top 100 for
Perfect.
ebooks for political thrillers. And there's hundreds of thousands of political thrillers out there. There's a lot of books out there.
Mhm.
So to get to that high in the chart, I was kind of like, okay, it kind of again gives you that self-confidence of, okay, I'm doing some right things. I have a lot still to learn, but it does give you that confidence of, okay, keep the faith, keep
Yep.
doing what you're doing.
For me, it's all about momentum and
Yeah.
the momentum from that last book. And if I've done everything right, including the cover design, the editing, advertisement, it helps the next novel that you've put out.
Hmm.
Um, I got 10,000 people that have read Edge of Time last year. or within the last year, sorry, the last 12 months, I should say. Um, I'm hoping they all buy the book two now.
Hmm.
Or, if I wanted to add the Kindle Red numbers in it, man, this could be good.
Yeah.
And this is where you see independent authors uh, doing really well.
Hmm.
There's a couple fantasy authors. I think the young adult fantasy authors. I can't remember Bethany. I can't remember her last name. Anyway, see, I follow her on YouTube. She she's helped me out quite a bit.
Hmm.
But she has 200,000 to 300,000 followers,
Yeah.
and if only 5% buy her book, that's 15,000 followers, and that's gonna put her right on top of the New York Times bestseller list
Yeah. The equivalent would. Yeah.
as an independent indie author. So
Yeah.
the potential's there for people do this. Brent Towns is doing this full time now. This is his full time gig.
Hmm. I know multiple indie authors now that are making a lot more money than traditionally published authors that are on the New York Times bestseller list. Now, granted, it's their full time. It has to get to
Yeah.
that level. It has to become your full time job. But there's people traditionally published that's their full time job too. It's just it's hard to do. It's hard to do with the
Oh,
competition
for
out there.
sure.
It's hard to do with the just the way people's readings have changed. Like just circling back to what you said about Kindle Unlimited, and you have to put your ebook exclusively through Amazon. And
Mhm.
people don't want to do that. Well, there's other ways to sell it. It's like, yeah, but if you actually look at the numbers on on how ebooks get sold, Amazon is the beast. It's eating up the vast
I know.
majority of the market share. So it's probably financially viable for you to put it under Kindle Unlimited, make less than an ebook. The other thing too that I've tried to tell people is, because as I've researched it and looked into it, and people go, "Well, man, if I can go make $5 off an ebook sale, for people straight up buying it, why would I not do that and go Kindle Unlimited and only make $2.20? That's I'm going to lose too much money." And it's like, you don't get it though. People that are paying $9.99 or $14.99, whatever it is for Kindle Unlimited, they're not out there buying ebooks. There's exceptions always, but as a general rule, they're getting all their books through Kindle Unlimited.
Mhm.
So you're not losing. If anything, you're gaining because you have people that don't want to do Kindle Unlimited. They won't get enough out of it, but they want to buy your ebook. Well, you're going to get the best of both worlds because they're not kind of pilfering off each other. They're two different demographics, really.
True. What I've been doing, I did this for my last two books, is um, I, I published them everywhere.
Hmm.
Barnes and Nobles, Kobo, you name it, for the first 3 months. After that, I discontinue it everywhere else except Amazon, and then I enrolled it in Kindle Unlimited then. And so I do benefit from the all the other sales through Barnes and Nobles, Google books, you name it. I put it all up there,
Yeah.
and then and that's the first 3 months. Everybody's got your chance. You buy it wherever books are sold. Kobo is doing really good for that. But
Okay.
after the 3 months mark, the sales charts take a roller coaster dip, and
Yeah.
to keep it and maintain that sales consistency, I pull it from everywhere else, and then I go with just Amazon and enroll it in the Kindle Unlimited, and that just
Yep.
keeps it going, if not an incline.
Well, and that's what happens in traditional publishing. In traditional publishing, you don't release a book and then a year later you're getting solid sales off that book. No, it's like 6 to 8 weeks is where like the vast majority of those sales come from.
For sure.
So, and I was in Barnes and Noble the other day, Saturday, I think I was up in Barnes and Noble, and you walk in and there's your nice display and there's all your new releases, and I personally knew a bunch of the authors that were there, which was really cool.
Cool.
Yeah, but those books are only there so long. Um, and the other thing that people don't realize is that's real estate. So Barnes and
Yeah.
Noble's not putting a book out there because they love that author. Barnes and Noble's putting a book out there because Simon and Schuster or Penguin paid for that prime advertising. So
I also have toyed with the idea of putting the hardcover out, and then 9, 12 months later releasing the mass market, the paperback or the trade.
Hmm.
Uh, but no, the momentum's gone. I don't have the big name draw. So
Yeah.
um for now I'm a medium-sized fish swimming in a small pond. I'm happy where I am.
Hmm.
I don't I For anybody listening, I this isn't complaining about, self-publishing, traditional publishing, or the industry as a whole. I enjoy what I do, and I do it every day. If I
Hmm.
didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't do it.
Yep.
So I'm not in the hole. I'm making a couple bucks at it,
Yep.
but I enjoy it.
Yep.
And it's that simple. Like I said, I'm doing rather well in the self-publishing.
Hmm.
So I'm a medium-sized fish in a small self-publishing pond, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
So
well, you should be okay with that because where you are now versus even where you were a couple years ago, you've learned so much. You've as a little fish, you ate a bunch of the other fish and you got bigger and bigger. And and no, and this is not a competition. That's the other thing. I've told that to people over the years. They go, well, you and David must, you're nice to each other, but behind the scenes, you're probably trying to stab each other, right? Because
oh
I don't
yes,
know.
yes,
Well,
yes,
okay, David does want to. Okay,
yeah.
everyone, you saw that. David is coming after me because I'm not coming after him, but watch him.
No.
No,
Yes, yes.
but no, we
Next time
don't.
you come to Canada.
No,
Yeah, no, it's not.
we'll just shut
I
that border down again like COVID. You ain't coming across the border to get me, buddy.
no, no way. Yeah, if I lift you up and you do better at sales, it won't affect my sales at all.
Yeah,
In
100%.
fact, it is what it is. Like it
Right.
just so why wouldn't I help you out? Or why wouldn't I help? I've helped out several dozen people. It's just a good community. It's being a good member of that community, and that's the part I really enjoy. I've had help from and advice from some of the top people in the writing industry, not
Mm,
just authors, but editors, promoters as well. I've talked to a few, and it's just they're here to help.
yep.
Simon Gervais jumped on a phone call with me or a video call and we chatted for like 45 minutes, and
Hmm.
he helped me sort some things out.
Yeah.
Point you guided me to some answers I already kind of knew. So, stuff like that. So, wow, Simon Gervais, really? Yeah, yeah, he did. So he's a good guy.
Yeah, it's the community aspect of it. I was talking to Bobby Matthews. I interviewed him previous interview, and I didn't see him last year. I saw him a couple years ago out in Minneapolis at BoucherCon, and he was just like, "Dude, you left us last year. You didn't come to San Diego." And I was like, "Yeah, family, with family and stuff, I couldn't make it."
Yep,
He's, "Well, you coming this year?" And I'm like, I don't know because I've just my kids are getting to the age where I don't have a lot of years left with them under my own roof, I guess you could say.
yep.
So if the conferences kind of fall on custody time for me, because I've just I have them half the time of the month, then it's not a question of what do I go to a conference or do I give up time with my kids? It's not, but the cool thing about the conferences and where I was going with that is the camaraderie. And yeah, and I miss them when I don't go. Like last year, I didn't go to any conference. I still got together with some authors, but I
Mhm.
didn't go and get together with lots of authors. And that sense of community you feel, and you're talking the same language.
For sure.
You're having meals with them. You might be having drinks with them. You're sitting in panels, and
Mhm.
you're with your tribe. And there's something to be said for that.
I was at Killer Nashville last year and in August, and
You were a rock star there too, by
I
the way.
was I was having a hell of a time. Terrence, I'm still gonna get you. Anyway, he knows. So yeah, I had a
Terrence
hell of a time.
deserves it. If you're gonna get him, he deserves it because he's
Well,
my
he
buddy.
won. He won his Claymore Award for Best Western. So,
I know.
uh, and then he kind of involved me in his speech right away. He knows. Rita knows
That's
too.
funny.
Anyway, but and it was 5 minutes later after being there, you found your tribe. You're
Yeah.
talking to people, and I was just sitting down at a table in between all these lessons and classes, and we were talking about something, and then all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, I had that same problem. And the next thing you know, we all had that same problem and we were talking about it.
Mhm.
And it's just a good feeling. So,
Yeah.
and I'm still in contact with so many people that I just met just last year, that it's incredible. So I'm hoping to get back to Nashville again. I just managed to squeak in another entry for an award a few days ago, uh, for the Claymore Award for Best Action Adventure. So we'll see how that goes.
There we
And
go.
I might be able to make it down, but if I do, it won't be till last minute. So
Because Killer Nashville is one weekend, and I think BoucherCon is the next weekend in Nashville, right?
there's
Aren't
2 weeks
they back
actually.
to
I think
back?
it's the 20. It's around the 20th, 22nd of August for Killer
Killer
Nashville, and then
Nashville. Okay.
BoucherCon is 20 minutes north downtown Nashville.
Right.
I believe it's the September 1st, the Labor Day long weekend.
It's the Labor Day weekend. Yeah. I literally just emailed them today because the Bobby was kind of guilting me into not going. And I had my kids that weekend, and I thought, well, we could go to Nashville. It's drivable. And so I actually emailed the conference today and said, "Hey, am I too late for panels?" And if they tell me yes, then that's going to be my answer. It's like, if I'm going to pay, I think I want to be on a panel or two and, get to
Yeah.
pontificate for a few minutes of my idiocracy. But we'll see. We'll see what they say.
Yeah. So if you're a writer and you're a struggling writer, like all these conferences, you'll find people, and there's all these panels about advertising, editing, marketing, cover design. Like, just go. It's totally worth it.
Yeah. Well, and you don't know who you're going to meet. And for me, I started at 2017. I went to Thriller Fest for the first time. And some of those relationships from that one week being in New York City really blossomed into like true friendships and people within the industry that also, very talented authors who do this for a living. They don't do what I do and work, and work a 9 to 5 and then write in the evenings. This is their job. Full on give me their phone number and say, yeah, call with any questions, reach out. Here's my information. And it's just like, really? But that's how it worked.
Good stuff.
Yeah, definitely good stuff. So let's talk about Edge of Time, because I think if we talk about Edge of Time, that can help you segue into promoting Edge of Eternity, which
Okay.
we want to get some people into reading those. So how did Edge of Time come about? Because it's outside of your Noah series. It's outside of your
Sure.
your detective series, basically. So.
Everybody has questions as a writer. What do you do when you're, I don't want to say writer's block, or you're stuck, or you're
Hmm.
stagnating? And for me, the answer's always been, just first, the answer is always keep writing. So if that's not your answer, you, something's wrong. But but keep writing. But you don't have to keep writing on book A. Start a book
Yeah.
B or a C, or I'm on Q now, whatever. So, and to switch it up properly, I wrote in something, a totally different genre, a totally different um, method. Even the way I wrote was different.
Hmm.
And so I threw that out there, and then it was a side project, that Edge of Time, that just got um, momentum. I got some momentum with it, and then
Yeah.
so I'm like, well, I got to finish this now. I'm
Mhm.
halfway done. All this little side project became my main project, and my number one bestseller. So,
Right.
uh, and the novel was about an FBI agent. He is called to investigate a break-in at Fort Knox, and which, if anybody knows the security of Fort Knox, that's pretty much impossible. So as he's doing it and finding out about this case, he discovers something else was missing, and then he finds it's a meteor fragment.
Hmm.
And then he gets involved with a farmer from the 1700s, and he discovers time travel's real, and he goes about basically saving the planet from an experimental black hole that went rogue, and out of a generated cyclotron. So
Well,
or close.
we're glad he
So yeah,
did that because the planet needs saving right now because
I'm okay with that. Yeah.
my goodness, what is going on in this world half the time? You're like, check please. Can we go back to the 80s? Is that possible? We need that time machine.
So yeah, it's not heavy on the time travel aspect. It's incredibly heavy on the research.
Hmm.
Um, you know, basically the guy goes back in time and he tries to make all these corrections so to save the world. And
Hmm.
but the U.S. government's now involved, and now they know he knows, and they're trying to stop him as well. So that's how the Edge of Time goes. I don't want to give away too much in case people want to pick it up.
Of course not.
Um, and it took me 2 years after writing that before I could. It was going to be a standalone.
That
Hence,
was going to be another question. Was it envisioned to be more than one?
yes, it was definitely going to be a standalone. In
Okay.
fact, you could read it as a standalone. You don't really need to pick up Edge of Eternity, which is book two. However, if you're going to read Edge of Eternity, you definitely have to read book one. I I'm not a fan of that. I like to have each book kind of stand on its own legs, but
Hmm.
this one it was impossible. I'm dealing with time travel, and the
Yeah.
reasons for all this happens is because of a lot of things in book one.
Right.
So, book two, Edge of Eternity, same guy. He goes back in time to 1494, Dublin, Ireland, and he witnesses one of the English lords get shot by a 50 caliber sniper rifle. And yeah, so there's another time traveler involved. And when he goes back to the future, to try and figure out what's going on, his wife and daughter were wiped from the timeline. So now he has to go around and
Hmm.
pretty much uh, try and fix everything while fighting this other time traveler. And so you got two time travelers playing against each other. And it's, I spent so much time on research on this. It's
It's
ridiculous.
ridiculous. Yeah.
I know more about the shooting of President Abraham Lincoln at Ford's Theater than I've ever thought possible. That plays a large part in it. So absolutely everything I researched, or sorry, everything I mentioned in the novel is real.
Hmm.
Places, buildings, a hardware store where the single 44 caliber Derringer was bought, stuff like that. So everything is real except the time travel part. So, yeah,
Maybe that is the real part though. And
we don't know. The events in the novel coincided with our actual history, so we wouldn't know if anything changed. It is what it is.
so let me
So,
throw you a curveball since you researched this so much.
oh,
So,
okay.
why do all assassins, for the most part, why is their middle name included? John Wilkes Booth, Lee
Yeah,
Harvey
Lee Harvey
Oswald.
Oswald. Yeah.
That's
It's
too
just,
brute,
yeah,
Brutus. I mean, come on, they're all
okay. I don't know why I know this, but it
you
had
would
to be
know this.
so it's to separate them from John Booth, or it's to separate them from Lee Oswald. It it's singular, and they're a designated force in history that have altered historical events by their heinous acts. So they have to designate them without a doubt, so there's not doubling up or mixing them up with somebody else.
It's almost like you're a time traveler and you know more than most people.
Well, yeah. So I got right into it. I mean right into the history, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And
I was going
you
to
get
ask you, how,
lost.
how did you, is it something that, did you, before you were writing, did you gravitate towards historical stuff and take an interest in it or
Oh, what? No.
no? Okay.
Yeah, I was drinking and playing a lot of guitar.
I was going
So
to say drinking, watching
anyway, but
hockey and doing
yeah, high
whatever you
school
can
wasn't.
Canadians do with your bacon and stuff. I mean, my God.
Yeah, when we're not building igloos and hunting caribou, I'd like to. No, I did not. Now I'm researching and reading for fun. But it's for me, it was also an added challenge. For example, the Lincoln assassination, while a huge turning point in history in 1865, I'm Canadian. it's not part of my
Right.
history at all. The Canadian history, it may or may not have been mentioned. In fact, I dare say I everything I know and been reading about the last 5, 6 years has been all American based,
Hmm.
including the way I write. Um, you know, uh, I think I know more with American history now than I did for Canadian history. So sorry, all the Canadians.
I'm sure you probably know more American history than most Americans too, because that's not always something that we're doing a great job with nowadays
Yeah,
is learning our own history or actually learning from our own history so we don't repeat the same mistakes. What do you
very
know?
true. I also found in my research as I'm looking up like for Lincoln, somebody and I have talked to a few times, Brad Meltzer has done
Yeah.
all these documentary series, books on the Lincoln conspiracy,
Hmm.
and it was just fascinating to read all that as well and watch the shows. And I'm taking notes. It was,
So we're recording this on April Fool's Day, April 1st, which happens to be Brad Meltzer's birthday because I messaged him this morning. And
I did not know that.
he is in the White House today. He was actually there for the president's Easter egg
Easter
roll.
hunt. I
So
did. I did see this post. Yes, he
yes, so he's
holding up his
actually
book.
there. I was actually there with my kids Tuesday, and we didn't get super close. I was trying to get my daughter to come closer.
Yep.
I made the mistake. Well, my son got sick the day before. We had tour at the I had a private tour of the Capitol. I had this like cool stuff lined up, and we're literally
Okay.
on the subway, 3 stops from Capitol South, and my son looks at me and goes, "I'm gonna throw up. I gotta get off this train." And I'm like, "Okay,
Oh
this
my
is gonna."
gosh.
So my next couple hours were very interesting, put it that way. So day one was a wash and vomit and being a dad. Day two in
Yeah.
DC went much better, but my daughter didn't like I'm a walker. My son's a walker. My
Yeah.
daughter will walk and hike, but you got to pull her arm a little bit to do it. You're like, come on. It's not. She doesn't love it as much as we do. So we're on the National Mall and we start seeing all these scooters, and she's like, how are we getting over to the Lincoln Memorial? And I'm like, we're walking, yo. And she's like, a scooter looks really nice. And I'm like, oh geez. So
Oh
of
my.
course I download the app and we probably had them for about 45 minutes, half hour. It was
Cool.
kids were just there. I got a video of them going around the grass in front of the Washington Monument, just chasing each other and doing stuff. And
Very
so
cool.
we get closer to the White House, and I'm like, well, I can't really take these scooters up that far, so I probably don't need to take them there. And told my daughter, I was like, why don't we just drop the scooters here and we can walk up to the White House? And she's like, I see it, we're good. Okay, okay.
Oh my gosh.
So,
Well,
but
good though.
we did make it to the Lincoln Memorial, and then at the end of the day, we were taking the subway and we were staying off the Springfield station, which was the end of the line on the blue line. And I said, let's stop at Arlington. And I've been to Arlington a bunch.
Yep.
I lived up in the area in Richmond area, so we used to go up on the weekends. And I've been to DC. I've been to the White House. I've done all the touristy stuff. And I'm like, let's just stop at Arlington. We don't even have to walk far. We don't have to go all the way to the tomb. We don't have to go to the JFK Eternal Flame, but we can just step off and walk 5 minutes and see a little of the cemetery. And my daughter's like, "I'm okay, Daddy. I don't need to see a cemetery." And I'm like, "Well, oh well. I guess I'm grateful that we got to tool around the mall on scooters at least."
Good. Good.
So no, it was fun, but it was neat to go. It, especially with some of the writing I've done recently, and I have a couple of key scenes that take place in Breach of Trust at the Lincoln Memorial. So that's one
Oh,
of the things I had already written in is that the body man when he needs time away from the White House and the president and all that stuff, his go-to spot is to go spend time with Abe. So that's why when you were talking about the Ford Theater, which was about a block from where we were at one point,
yep.
um, it kind of warmed my heart because it's like, yeah, I mean, I was literally just there. I got a bunch of pictures with the book there at the memorial and stuff, and
Very
um,
good.
it's one of those places, whether you're an American, whether you're not, it's one of those cities that they really did that part of the city very well, and
Good.
it's pretty remarkable to see. It's kind of like if you go to Rome. If you go to Rome, whether you're Catholic or not, you have to go to the Vatican. You have to go to the Colosseum. I was fortunate I've done that as well, and there are places that you can go and you think, man, this is a pretty cool experience.
Well, I obviously have a tour guide ready for next time I come down. So Sounds good to me.
You come this way, I can take you where I was this weekend. I can take you up to DuPont, and DuPont is actually where they film some of the Hunger Games. The waterfalls and stuff there are
Oh,
very,
that's
yeah.
nice.
Yeah, it's a real pretty area. I missed living out in Colorado. I lived out there years ago, and I missed the mountains for a while. And then the longer I've been here, the more I've realized how much is here that I don't even get to see on a regular basis. So I try to get up there. So I had to do some editing this weekend, and I was just like, man, I could. I'm looking at my couch, which is across the room. I can go sit on my couch and edit for a day, or I can bring a hammock and I can just go up to a mountain and sit on top of a mountain. It's beautiful. It was 70, so that's where
That's
I
a
got
winner.
to. Yeah, it was pretty. So again, that's one of the neat things we get to do with this type of a craft is we're not stuck in a an assembly line warehouse doing a job.
Yeah.
Our part-time job or our hobby is right in here. So whether we write it out with pen and paper or smack away on a laptop somewhere, um, and that's the thing. So are you the type that you can do it anywhere, or do you normally have to stay in one? Are you good in your little office area, or where do you write
90% of the time I just sit in my living room, laptop on my lap,
on your lap?
comfy chair, and I put my headphones on so I can tune out. I listen to music or
Yeah.
whatever playing, and then or sometimes I just put them on so my wife and daughter aren't really talking to me, and they think I'm listening to music, but they're not. They're just
Don't
on.
let them watch this podcast, or
Eh,
the cat's out of the bag
ah,
yet, buddy.
I think my wife's catching on because I forgot to
She's figuring
plug them
out.
in the other day. But yeah, so I can pretty much write anywhere. If it was a hotel room or wherever. So I want to get a cabin. I don't want to turn into the hermit writer, but
Yes, you
that'd be for me. That would well, I do, yes.
do. Yes, you
Uh,
do.
I am retiring. I'm hoping for 6.5 years. I'm on track for that, and then I'm just going to do this full time. So that's my gig.
Let's see what you've done the last couple years. So in 6 years, you'll have like 48 books out. You better be able to retire with all those Kindle unlimited reads you'll be getting, you know?
Well, if I'm on track, I'm going to do at least. I'm hopefully if I just do two a year,
Yeah.
in 6 years I'll have another 12 books out and added to my seven. So I'll be pushing around 20 novels, I hope, and or more. I don't know. I'm not again.
You never know.
People that can write two or three books a year, a traditionally published author or contract isn't for you because they're only going to put out one,
Yeah.
unless they're going to upcycle you and maybe they'll put out three in 14, 15 months kind of thing. I know Jack Stewart's on the fast track right now, but
Yeah. Yeah, but
uh,
you gotta have something going on, like for jackets with a smaller publisher, so they're more willing to do
yeah,
that. But if you're with Simon and Schuster or Penguin, yeah, you're gonna get one book a year. That's gonna be your earmark. You might get to do a second one if you're like got another project going with someone else or something that's outside of your, but they want, if you're writing Vince Flynn, they want a Vince Flynn book once a year.
oh,
They don't want four Flynn
sure.
books. Um,
And I understand that that's a business thing, but if
yeah.
you know, for me, if uh, I'm still not going to give up on the traditionally published author dream.
Right.
Going into the airports, the supermarkets, the grocery stores, the bookstores, seeing your book on the end aisle, going, yeah, and doing a quick little tour. Yeah, I'll
Hmm.
drive all around the states. Perfect.
Right.
Um, However, I'm still going to probably end up self-publishing as well and turn into the mythical hybrid author,
Hmm.
doing a bit of both. Because if what else am I going to do? Have like one book coming out once a year? Maybe I'll give publisher two or three books, but that's 2 or 3 years worth, and I'm going to have another
Yeah.
5 or 6 or 10 novels sitting on a dusty shelf. So
Well, not to correct you, but I don't think it's the mythical thing anymore. I think what you're going to see going forward, and because just in talking to people and knowing the industry decently, is I think that's starting to be much more of the norm thing. Just the way the publishing industry has
okay,
changed, where they have a traditional deal, but they're going to come out with something, whether it's under their name or, cat out of the
Yep.
bag. There's a lot of people out there that have names out there that's not their real name. It's a pen name. And some of those people are writing under their real name or multiple pen names.
Okay.
That happens because like you are the exception in some ways, absolutely, but there are other David Darlings out there that can't just write one book a year. And the thing I applaud you for is if this was your full-time gig, and I would say absolutely you can do 2 or 3 books a year for not everybody, but I would say you could do that. But this is not your full-time gig. You're also working as well as that. That puts you in a different category in my brain, at least, because not only are you handling that, you're able to, with your free time, creatively push out 2, 3 books some years, which is a pretty remarkable feat
Yep.
when you're doing all the things you have to do. So that's to be applauded. Because you could do, and I've said this to other people or on other shows, you could put a book out. I could hang up with you tonight. I could go sit on the couch and I could come up with an idea for a story and short story, not a novella, something small. I couldn't do 100,000 words, but I could do 25,000 words in a week. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I could upload, I could go to Canva, I could create a cover at the end of the process. I could go dump it through Pro Writing Aid and have a edited version. And
Yeah.
within a week and a half of now, it'd be realistic for me to publish something. Should I publish something a week and a half later? No,
Yeah.
I should be quartered if I try to do something like that because it's going to be absolute dog doo doo.
Yeah.
Um, but realistically, can someone do a couple books a year? Yeah. And I agree with your philosophy on that. My goal for myself this year is 2 books out and then 2 books next year. I can
Perfect.
only do that because several of those books are kind of sort of done. They just need cleanup and some tweaking and stuff. And I can
Perfect.
do all that in a month or two versus if I had to write those books from scratch, no, probably one a year for me, maybe 2 and a really good year, but probably not. And that's because of all the other things. And a lot of my free time too is spent going to concerts, traveling, doing whatever.
Life,
Which,
man. Yeah.
but I'm also look at it as, man, I'm living my best life.
Good.
If my goal was to just push out a lot of books, then that's what I would focus on. But my goal is to write some books and also, you mentioned Dublin. Uh, that's on the bucket list to go this year at the end of the year. So hopefully
Nice.
I'll be, drinking with those crazy Irish people at the end of the year because I'm not drinking now. So I have to save up my alcohol for
There you go.
November. So
Very nice.
I did want to bring up one other thing before we get to our final question because I
Sure.
was wanting to make sure I had a couple like pieces. I know you well and I know what you've written and all that, but I'm like, let me make sure I got the information on David. And I was kind of getting the
Yep.
order of the books. And it was funny. And because of what you write and because of Edge of Time, I want to point this out. I didn't remember your website. I knew it was your name, but I didn't know if it had author in it or books in it. So I Googled it.
Yeah.
And who came up but David Darling? And I even copy this into my notes. David Darling is an English astronomer, a freelance science writer and musician. And I was just like, what the heck? He didn't tell me. And I knew, of course,
Oh,
immediately who it was, and it wasn't you,
yeah.
but
So anyway, I do got one of his books around here
do you
somewhere.
really? He lives in Glossop, United Kingdom, and he's 70 years. Actually, he's the same age as my mother. Actually, he was born in the year
Yeah.
my mother.
Yeah. Zen Physics,
That
David
is,
Darling. Yeah, this is there. There's a couple of other of his books as well. Yeah, that's not me. However, he's had problems uploading his books or getting them recognized through Goodreads, and I have as well. So when there was a mathematics physics book that was
okay.
listed under my profile with Goodreads, and Edge of Eternity was listed under his profile.
That's
So
too funny.
so after talking with the Goodreads people, my name has 2 spaces between David and Darling
Oh,
now.
no.
But anyway, yeah. So I'm not him.
Um, Before my final question, let me ask you this. So, Edge of Time came out what about a year ago?
April
April of
20
23.
April 25th, 2023.
Okay. And so Edge of Eternity will come out this April, which
April
is
30th.
this month. Yes. Depending on when people hear this and stuff.
Yep.
So will there be a third? Is there a way you can do a third, or do you have plans for a third?
I have four other novels I have to finish first.
Okay.
I'm not saying no to a third in that series. In fact, the title is already sort of Edge of Eternity, time, eternity, or Edge of Infinity. I meant, sorry,
Edge of Infinity.
after
Okay.
Edge of Eternity. So it's already sort of planned, and I'm sort of thinking about what it could be. So
It'll percolate for a little while, is what you're
yeah,
saying.
I got to stop thinking about time travel and uh, getting sucked into the rabbit hole of research, because I like to do it. Like, if
Yeah.
if I'm talking about a farmer in the 1400s, well, I got to know what their buildings are like. I got to know what crops he's growing. What is the
Yeah.
crop rotation? Oh, denim just came out, so they're growing indigo plants now to stain the jeans blue, stuff like that. So,
Mhm.
like, I'm right into this. So, I'm going to be really good at Trivial Pursuit one day, and I got to give that a break. So I'm right now, I'm focusing everything on Noah Hunter book 4 right
Mhm.
now. Gonna wrap that up. I have another novel coming out this winter. Uh, what did I call this one? The Egyptian Enigma.
Okay, that
It's
was on my list to ask you. So that was
Yep,
one you were trying. It was a finalist for the Claymore Award,
correct.
and it's one that you've been trying to get through an agent. And so that will,
I,
if that doesn't work, you'll go on your own with that.
yes, right
Okay.
now I within the last well, it's in somebody's hands right now, but I am not hearing back from them.
Gotcha.
Maybe an editor at Penguin, maybe
Hmm.
Random House. Uh, but he asked for it and he wanted more, and I gave it all to him, and I haven't heard anything back. So
Okay.
I'm guessing that door is closed. I don't want to bug him at all.
Yeah.
So I just submitted it to another publisher a couple days ago and put the countdowns on. If they want it, great. Here you
Mhm.
go. It's ready to go. If you don't want it, no, to be honest, no sweat off my back.
Yeah.
I'll just call my designer. We get a cover on it, and it's all good to go. It's already been edited. It's
Okay.
already
Wow.
gone. So, it's 100% ready to go.
Well, David
So
Darling Incorporated
yeah,
knows how to market and push books out. So screw
yeah,
the industry if they don't want to pick it up, in a nice
yeah,
way.
you got it. And remember what I said about, you get a writer's block or not feeling good, and you got these side projects. Well, I got
Yeah.
another side project that's all done. I just got to get a fantasy novel, a young adult fantasy novel. So I got that. That's a series too, and I'm
Wow.
halfway through book 2 on that.
That's
So
awesome.
I got all these books out. I got to get them going. If nobody wants them, perfect. I'll self-publish. I'll make
Yeah.
more money, and I'm moving on. I'm doing what I'm liking to do. I enjoy it. I'm writing, so
Yeah, I talked about it with someone recently. At some point, just the way the industry works, you get to that demarcation line. You have to decide, okay, do I want an agent? Do I want a publisher? Am I going to wait for the big seven figures? Do I want all the fame and whatever to shower down on me? It's like,
yeah,
there's a lot of really talented authors that have agents that have been books gone out there on sub that don't get picked up. Well,
yeah,
what do you do? Do you just give up on that book and write the next one? And there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing that. Or do you look at other avenues, other ventures? For me personally, I want the books out there. There's something that I can leave to my kids. There's something that even just on my shelf, I can look up and go, I wrote that. I wrote that. I started
You
writing those
wrote
things.
that. You wrote that one too.
I wrote that one sitting there. Yes, that was a fun one. We talked a lot about that one. Um, to me, it matters. Like we have a
Yeah,
similar thing where, yeah, I want to go. I have a bucket list thing that I want to walk in an airport and I want to sign books. And to do that, that I can happen. I was talking to someone recently about it just the other day. I could probably get some local airport, my local airport or whatever to carry some books. I can talk to them,
yep.
but I don't want to just have one airport have my books. I want to be, I want to go to London and be like, hey, look what's in, Heathrow. Hey, the
Perfect.
Body
Perfect.
Man version 3.4, whatever, the further
Yeah.
versions of the Body Man series. To get that happen, I need a traditional deal. There's just no, and maybe the market will change in a couple years, and that won't necessarily be what's required, but right now that's what's required.
Well, there's
So,
also the mythical. I keep saying mythical. There's also the theory that until you've written 1,000,000 words, you haven't quite achieved a certain level.
right.
And for those of you that don't know, your average book, let's say your average thriller novel is between 80 to 95,000 words, or
Hmm.
certainly under 100,000 words. Between 100 to 120,000 words is your typical fantasy science fiction novel. So, so 10 novels, 11 novels
Right.
of writing, of practicing your craft. And writing is one of the few, I'll say, professions that you have to do
Hmm.
constantly to get better and uh, uh, succeed. I would say succeed. So yeah,
Virtually nobody starts off and writes one book and they got it.
thing.
They got it. It's
Yeah, it doesn't happen.
I was four books before I put out something good enough to get published, or that someone decided to publish. You know,
Yeah.
I might have thought the first one was good enough, but no one else thought that. So yeah, and the other thing too for people listening, yes, you get those people that hit it big on their first book or they get the publishing deal and all that. But generally speaking, if you talk to a lot of accomplished authors, it's
Mhm.
book 4 to book 6 is where they finally it's traditionally published 4 to 6 books before they were able to normally quit their day job. So it's not like you get one book out and fame and fortune is befallen you. That's not how it works. It happens,
Yeah.
but it doesn't happen to very many people.
Well, even today, Don Winslow was joking about, yeah, it became an overnight success at age 58. However, what you
Yes.
didn't see is 30 years of script writing, writing countless novels that never saw the light of day anywhere,
Yeah.
and until he came out, with
Yeah, I think David Darling was interviewing him.
no, no, no,
I'm sorry, David Temple. David Temple, not
Dave
the other
Temple,
David.
yes.
There's so many great Davids out there. So, um, I remember seeing something, and it might have been an earlier interview that David Temple did with him, where Don said years ago that how important family was, and I think his son, if I recall the
this
story
I
correctly, that
I remember this part too. Yes,
if
he
his
never.
son came in the room, man, he stopped. That was
Yep.
and that's another thing that I think is pretty common. Like, my story on that is I always wrote, and still to this day, for the most part, I wrote when the kids went to sleep. So I wasn't saying, "Hey, kids, Dad would love to go play with you, but I got to finish this book." No, I took out my playtime or whatever you want to call it,
Yep.
TV time, whatever, reading time a lot of times too.
Mhm.
All my writing was done when it didn't interfere with family. And even now with my life changing and custody and stuff, I do all my writing stuff pretty for the most part on days I don't have my kids. On days I have my kids, I might get something done here and there if they're got an activity going or they're watching a movie and I'm just sitting in the other room by myself. But most of the time I'm doing dishes, laundry. My son's in karate, so I have to wash his gi like 3 times a week,
Yeah.
and he's 17 and I can't seem to figure out how to show him how to use a washer and dryer. I mean, it's like so
Yeah,
he can
I
drive
started.
now though. He can drive his car,
Oh,
but
good. Yeah, I was in judo when I was 14, and 40 years of martial arts. So yeah, wash that gi, please. At least
yeah.
your uniform, at least 3 times a week.
Oh yeah, definitely gets washing. So, well, hey, let's end on this note. It's how I've ended all my podcasts, and so even though you're exceptional, you're not going to be different.
Okay.
Um, I think you'd agree with me that life's a book. We all
Yeah.
have a first page and we all have a last page. None of us know how many pages are going to be between those two. But you're a writer. You're a prolific writer. You've written a lot of stuff. David Darling, you get to write your last page.
Ooh.
What does David Darling's last page say? You can think. We
Well,
won't
I,
put the
I
Jeopardy
am I
clock
am
going
thinking
on you or
the
anything.
hamsters are just burning up their little wheel. You can almost smell the smoke. Um,
I smell Canadian bacon. What is that? Hold on. What's going on here?
I would say something to the effect of, if you wanted to know, or a glimpse into David's mind, uh, go back through his novel. Even if I write nothing else beyond, the 7, 8 books I got right now, and if you wanted to know David, you can get to know me through my books, because
Mhm.
it's unavoidable. My way of thinking, my thoughts, even some religion and politics, which I really don't want to talk about to anybody. Those are my things.
Mhm.
You can get hints of how I feel about them in my books. And if you wanted to know me, read what I've written. And
Very good.
yeah, and I to jump on that idea, and I've also done that as a legacy as well. All my
Mhm.
books and everything, all my thoughts, my heart, my soul, uh, everything goes into my books. And later on, that'll be something for my daughter and grandchildren, great grandchildren. They could read to know maybe her father, her grandfather, great grandfather a little bit better, and uh, a legacy, so to speak. And I think that's also, besides my creative output, a driving force with my why I'm doing this too.
Yeah. 100%. And I share those sentiments. I tell
Yeah.
people that as an author, the amount of time and the creativity and what we put into books, we leave a piece of our soul in every book. I don't know how big our soul is, but we leave a
Yep.
piece of our soul in every book. And if you want to know something about an author, besides the acknowledgments, I'm big into the of getting to know someone based on their acknowledgments, I think is possible.
Oh
But
yeah.
the stories themselves and the little and most people will never know it. They'll never know the little anecdote that's in David Darling's story that is fictitious, but it's based on a real event, or it's based on something you actually believe. And you get to give that voice to whoever your character is. And that's a
Yeah.
powerful words are a powerful thing. Especially with writers, it's a lasting thing of what we'll be able to give back long after we're gone. And it will still keep, as long as the books are being produced and Amazon doesn't go out of business or anything like that, they're still, Kindle Unlimited keeps pushing our stuff out. Hey.
Yeah. This will Maybe it'll be a nest egg for my daughter one day,
You
after
never know.
I'm gone, or my grandchildren. Yeah, I got Grandpa's monthly check. Thanks.
Exactly.
Okay.
Grandpa never got his cabin, but I got a Ducati. On that note, how do people find Grandpa? How do people find David Darling, and how do they get your books? What's the best
Well,
route for them?
you could research, Google David Darling, and
Hey,
I'm not the guy in Edinburgh, but you can look me up at daviddarlingbooks.com. And through that, you could find me on Twitter, or whatever you call it now, and Facebook, and my email address. Drop me a line. I'd love to hear from you.
awesome. Thank you for coming on, David. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.